All right. Well, that was exciting. Hello, ladies.
Hello,
Hello,
everybody.
Summer. Hey,
So
Anita. How are
excited
y'all?
to spend a little time with you all today. So I want to be mindful because we know that you all have to go and perfect your skills, get some practice in, get your rounds in. So thank you all for joining us today in a little conversation just to spotlight two of my faves. I just love y'all. I remember just years ago, first being introduced, and just seeing the evolution of what it's all about. How's everything going with you all in general?
Everything is good. I moved into a new place about a month ago. Started seeing a new coach. I feel upbeat about my golf game. In terms of life, my family's good. I'm good. So I feel great. I feel blessed.
What about you, Lakareber B? We know you overseas right now.
Yeah, everything's good. I had a really good off season. I got to spend a lot of time with family, which was a bit unusual for me. So that was really enjoyable. And then, yeah, I played the first 3 weeks on Epson, and then I'm actually over in Australia with LAT. So it's been a really cool experience and just kind of a fun trip for me to experience a place I don't think I would have gotten to without golf. So yeah, everything's been good.
Well, that's what's up. That's I know, and I know you were roll tide. Alabama was is rolling in the men's side there. I don't know if you've been keeping up with the with basketball, but that's been cool to see. In South Carolina, holding it down. Dawn Staley holding it down on the women's side. So it's
We're
good to
ready,
see.
man. We're
I
ready.
know.
We're
I'm
ready.
got everything crossed. I don't. We'll see. Fingers
It's
crossed.
we're excited in Michigan because the coach for Alabama he was a teacher and a coach in Romulus, Michigan, so he has some roots here in Michigan. So we're cheering for him down there in Alabama or in Arizona, and then we're obviously cheering for Dawn Staley to have a for real perfect season. So we know those are your two alma maters.
Who's
So
Bama playing though? UConn?
We play UConn.
they play
You guys play
UConn.
Ooh.
UConn too, don't you? No,
Well,
you
we
don't.
play
No, you don't.
NC
Yeah,
They
State.
play NC
yeah, yeah.
State. They
Yeah.
play
Yeah, we
NC
play
State.
NC State. I mean,
I know.
but
Everyone's like,
UConn.
hey, it's only
That's
one game.
It's only one game. That's it. That's all
True.
you need. That's all you need. So I definitely is relevant when I thought about it. I was like, we got Alabama and South Carolina in the Final Four. So happy to talk about that a little bit outside of golf. So just let's talk a little bit about how you all even got started in the game. Some people don't know. Like, I know you all have two different journeys. So tell us a little bit about how you started the game. Anita, how did you get into the game of golf?
When I was younger, my dad is an avid golfer. I mean, not a great one, but he plays golf quite a bit, and he got my brother into playing. So, and every time from school, my brother would always go to the golf course, and my brother would go to the golf course, and me and my sisters we would go home. And so I decided, you know what? I don't want to go home after I don't want to go home after school. So I started going with my brother to play, and I was using his golf clubs to play. And so my dad saw that I really liked playing golf, and so he got me my own golf clubs. And that's basically how I started. He asked me if I wanted to come to America to come play golf when I was about 12, 13. And I'd never been away from home before. And to be fair, all I knew about America was Hannah Montana, money grows on trees, that's the whole stereotype. So I was like, oh, go to America? Sure, why not? And so when I came here, that's when I really was like, oh, I could actually go to college for golf. I could play professional golf. But, my dad was the one that got me into it.
Okay. What about you, Lakira?
I guess that's kind of where we're similar. My dad also got me started. Really, he started taking us to the first tee. I think like once a week, and I wanted to follow. Uh, and so I kind of begged them to take me too. And like I think after she finished her first round of classes, they let me start going. Big first tee was like at a kids only golf course, and we had our own 9 holes, and there were a ton of kids there. And so it was just kind of became a thing where like on the weekends we would go hang out, start competing, and that's kind of where my like love for the game started and like really blossomed.
So you all, we talked a little bit about South Carolina and Alabama being in the Final Four. So you all both played, collegiate golf. So when was it in your, collegiate career or younger that you knew that you said I want to do this professionally? How did that transition for you, Lakirby? How did you make that? Was that you've always wanted to? Did you always want to be, or did that kind of develop when you were in college?
Um, I would say I think naively it's like always something that you think, oh, that'd be really but it was something I voiced with my coaches in recruiting at Alabama. I just mentioned that, like, hey, I think I want to turn pro. And one of the reasons why I chose actually is because they had committed to making sure that we were as prepared as they could get us for that transition, and holding us to that standard. And so, yeah, I think freshman, sophomore year of college is when I got to school and figured out, okay, I think I can do this. Or not I think, but like I do enjoy doing the work outside of in high school when you tells you to go, someone has everything done for you, your parents pick you up, your parents take you to practice, all those things. So I think college, when I had like my first little taste, it was when I realized I enjoy the process of getting better, and without being supervised by a coach or a parent, and I enjoyed the responsibility. I think that's when I really decided, like, hey, this is something I wanted to do.
Okay. What about you, Anita?
So for me, I think I've been independent since I was, again, 12, 13, coming here on my own. So mine was a little bit different in terms of, the independence and having to work hard. And not necessarily having to work hard, but basically like doing this on my own and not having a parent, like a supervision kind of thing. And I don't know, like I just, in high school, I would say like I put in a lot of time, in golf, and like I would always stay a lot later, and I just wanted to see how good I can get. In fact, I didn't want to go to college. I told my mom, like, I just want to go pro. Like, I don't want to have to go to school or whatever. I just want to focus on this and just do this. But obviously, being African parents, they're like, nope, you need your degree. So, they advised me to go to school, which, I mean, obviously, it's the greatest advice they've ever given me. But for the most part, I just knew I wanted to see how far I can go with this, because I already put so much time in. And so I just, being at the highest level was always something that I had eyes on the whole time.
Okay. So even when we think about the professional leap, going from amateur status to professional status, what was the barrier then? Is the barrier, or not the barrier, but what was what were some of the challenges or the excitement about going pro, and how does that play out now, right? Like, is it still some of the same challenges? Is that excitement still there? How does being a professional for the few years that you all have been, how has it changed from in the beginning to now?
Should I go?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you can go live.
Okay, I would say, I guess, in two parts. I think one thing that's really excited about the process personally is like you're always trying to perfect your own craft, which is kind of works in twofold. I mean, you want to get out there and you want to better yourself every day, but then it's very hard, I think, out here. I think most pros would tell you, comparison is a thief of joy, and it happens quickly out here. I mean, everybody has their own game, and look at somebody else's and be like, oh, I want this, and not appreciate your own strengths, I think is really hurtful and detrimental. And I think it's when you see a lot of us start to kind of go a little sideways sometimes is when you're searching for things. So I think, focusing on, okay, I do need to get better at this, but I also have these great strengths, and like I should really appreciate them and hone them, and really make them what makes me me. I think, and then I think turning pro, I think it was really exciting. I mean, this is something, you worked for so long, but I think I would say it comes down to a lack of information about what it's like on the road, what it's like traveling, what to expect, how to pace yourself. There's just so much information, I think, at least I didn't have access to, and I'm still learning, and my parents and I are learning. And so you really have to find a good like mentor, people to like lean on to help you guide yourself through the whole process. I think that would be the hardest thing, is just like access to information, and to the right people.
Okay. What about you, Anita?
I definitely, honestly, 100%, 110% agree with Lakareber. It's the information, and even just I'm still learning every day. I mean, even just recently, something that I never had was structured practice, and something that I need to do every day, like what do you need to be at 3 p.m. or 4 p.m., like having that structure in my practice that I recently just created for myself. But I just saw a coach recently, and he was like, oh, so what do you do when you go to the range? What is something that you do? I'm like, well, I just work on whatever you tell me to work on. He's like, no, like I need you to have like a set things that you're working on every day, and so that's something I created for myself. And like, again, like Lak said, information definitely does help. In terms of turning amateur to professional, I would say the good thing is, I mean, it's a kind of double-edged sword. I mean, the good thing is, at the end of the day, if you play well, you make money. In amateur golf, you didn't really make money. You kind of just play for pride. But, like in, professional golf, like, oh, like I get to cash in like quite a bit of money. But also the downfall is if you don't play well, you get to lose a bunch of money. And so it's kind of, that scenario where, it's happy some days, it's sad some days. But like Black said, for me, like personally, whether it's amateur golf, whether it's professional golf, it's mostly about trying to be the best person I can be, trying to strike the ball the best I can be. I'm just chasing that. I know no one's ever going to get to perfection. I mean, I'm not, I've played golf enough to know that golf is not a perfect game. But at the same time, it's just always like I'm pursuing that perfect strike, like consistency. I'm pursuing good putting stroke, a good chip in motion. So I'm always just trying to get better for myself. And that's why for me, like when I play good, when I play bad, it doesn't really matter because I'm still going to practice. So that kind of takes a little bit of pressure off myself because I'm still going to do the same thing because I'm never going to have a perfect round. So I'm always going to try to fix something, and that's what drives me in the game, really. It's just that chase for perfection, my definition of perfection. So.
Okay. So I know obviously, this is the fourth year of the John Shippen, and that's how we are gathered here, right? I remember having an initial phone call when we reached out to the LPGA tour and Epson tour at that time. It was I can't remember what was the tour before Epson tour. And we were, trying to get a feel and talk to the players and see what's what. And hey, we're doing this event. And Anita, your name was recommended because it was the first year because of our partnership with Dow, which we'll talk a little bit about. They were our first partner to come to the table with an exemption for the women. And so it was a team approach. So the first year, you and Shasta, y'all won the event that you won the John Shippen that year. And you got a chance to play in the Dow event. I think that was your first LPGA Tour event that you played. That was the first. And then Lakareber, you came the following year, right? And won and was holding it down is well for the John Shippen. So for you all being involved in the event, and Lakareber, was that your first LPGA Tour when you got that exemption as well from the Shippen?
Yes, it was.
Okay. So what was that? So one, being, playing in the Shippen that first time, for both of you all, but then also as winners of the John Shippen to play in the LPGA Tour event. What was that experience like for you all, if you can kind of recall that time? What you got, Anita?
Okay, for me, to be fair, I don't think I ever grasped the importance or what was on the line for John Shippen. I know Shasta was the one that told me about the John Shippen, and Shasta to this day is like a big sister. Like if I have a question, I'll ask Shasta. And so when she recommended that, she's like, "Oh, let's be partners." Again, I was like, "Oh, this is great, a team event." Shasta is asking me to be her partner. Great. And so when we played it, I don't think I necessarily grasped like what is at stake here playing an LPGA event. And so obviously winning it, which I think is probably one of the best moments for me. I mean, I know this question is going to come up, but I really enjoyed playing with Shasta. But when we got to the Dow, because you've worked your whole life for it, even if it's an exemption, it's not necessarily like you have an LPGA card. But the fact that you get to see all these girls that you watch on TV and, you're playing this golf course, your name is, on the leaderboard, and you're on TV. Like, I think that was a really cool moment. And for me, it was giving me like, okay, what do I need to get here? Like I'm seeing all these girls play. you know, this is like a motivation, like, oh, like they don't hit any better than me, or they don't put any better than me. Maybe they're more consistent in this. Like for me, it helped me realize that, oh, I'm really close, and you know, it just gave motivation that I can do this. So it was definitely a great experience, both the John Shippen and both the Dow.
And it's funny because I remember that first year and you were on the practice range and you just striping it at the practice range. And I was like, you had your arms out, so you had to, you had your cuts. And I said, Anita is giving them the gun show and the stripe show. Okay.
I know. And Susan Pedersen, apparently, who came up to me? I think it was Susan Pedersen told somebody, or the girl, I don't remember, Natalie Galbis, I think they're friends. And she was like, wow, that girl's got really good guns. Like, wow, she's so fit. And for me, Susan Pedersen, I've always looked up to Susan Pedersen. And I was like, oh my God, like, you know, my idol is telling me that I'm really fit. So yeah, that was definitely like, I got rosy chicks. You know, it was nice.
Now, what about for you, Lakareber, at that time, Anita, but your name was on the list. I mean, we, know your stats in terms of your, credentials in terms of SEC leadership, when you was at Alabama and beyond, and just being an amazing player. So when your name came in the equation, I wasn't as familiar with Anita, Shasta had to put me down, but I knew who you were, right? So that was kind of like, oh, cool. And I went to school in Alabama, so I also kind of followed because I was like, oh, a black girl at Alabama, what's going on? But how was that, for you when you won the first time, but playing in the Shippen, obviously not knowing who we were, what that was about, but that experience for you, how was that the first time and when you won as well?
I think my experience with the Shippen was awesome. I mean, never do we get to have an event that is focused solely on Black women and furthering our goals and really trying to help us. So I think it was just a really cool experience. I had known some of the girls. I met a lot of girls. I think it was just cool to be competing in that kind of space. And I know that it's really cool that wherever we go, you guys provide us with these great golf courses that really test and challenge our game. So I think just being able to compete on those courses is a plus and really shows you where your game is. And then getting the exemption it was awesome. I mean, as Anita said, that's something you work your whole life for, and to kind of see it come to fruition in that way. And then you get a week to test yourself against the best players in the world. I think is an experience that I'll never take for granted. I think it gets to show you, you feel like you're a million miles away from that goal, but then you get out there and it's like, no, I'm not so far. I can do this. I can compete. And I think, one of the biggest things is we try to get more Black and African American women into golf is, yes, them seeing faces like ours out there, but also everyone realizing that, like, no, we can do this, we can compete out here, this is something that's very attainable for us. And so I think that John Shippen providing us that is really important, and it's really cool, and it's something I'm very appreciative of.
And that's one of the things that was also awesome, in the second year, Anita, you and Sadina went to Dow and made the cut, and it was all the excitement and energy. And so when Chase last year, when he made the cut doing his thing at Rocket Mortgage, and they were like, oh, look at the Shippen players. I was like, first of all, the ladies held it down first. Let's get it straight. So don't get it twisted. But it was just, kind of Lakareber, to your point about the representation, was so dope seeing you all in these spaces, right? But I remember vividly, with Sadina and Anita, but Sadina, specifically when she was playing her exemption, and she has on, she got on her Jordans, and she's just coming unapologetically herself within this space. And people were like, oh, she was doing the Curry, like it was all these different things that being able to, the theme music that you get to choose at the Dow when you're coming up on the 18th, like all those different things that it allows an opportunity for you all to be your unapologetic selves, which we love. And we know that that's in the golf space, something that's got to, kind of grow and change. But one of the things that we also gain from that is Dow is a great partner of ours. They were the first partner to come to the table with the women exemption. On the men's side, it was Rocket Mortgage, but for the women, it was Dow. And we had some great supporters from the beginning. with Karen Carter holding it down and still at Dow, and made a commitment to say, hey, what does that look like and what we can do. And then, still being a part of it, still offering the exemption, still trying to, plug away behind the scenes. And then it was an amazing announcement that happened not too long ago that you all have been selected as ambassadors for Dow. And so we know that, Karen was very pivotal in that move. What was that when you all got the call or the surprise about it? How did you all take that opportunity? What did you say when it first happened? What about you, Lakareber?
Well, it was actually really funny. I don't know where I was coming back from, but I got a call from the Epson commissioner, Jody, and he was like, hey, I just want to like make sure you're around at this time. Someone's gonna call you. And I was kind of like, okay, sure, I'll be around. But I was like running into lessons, so I didn't really think anything of it. And then I got a call about going to lunch with Karen and a couple of the other, I think one of the other like executives from Dow and Gary. And I was like, okay, sure, yeah, it's fine. And it was actually like an ice storm that day. And Anita and I were going to drive together. And I was like this close to being like, oh, I don't think I can make it. Like, I don't really want to drive in this. Like, the weather was it was like the worst weather day in Houston that we'd had. So like,
yeah, we almost slipped. And remember when I almost slipped on the ice?
Yeah. Like, I'm like, we parked and you're like, yeah, Anita's like falling in the parking lot. I'm like, okay, this isn't great, but like, we'll press on. And then we had this great lunch and really got to know everybody at the table. And then they're like, we have some really exciting news for you. And yeah, I think it was like the biggest shock, surprise, and like kind of moment of happiness that I'd had like in a long time. I mean, it was a really cool thing. Everything that they're offering and they're trying to provide us, I think it's more than just, hey, this partnership, we want you to show up for us. It's also like, how can we show up for you? What can we do for you? What can we provide you to make you not only a better golfer but a better human? And so it's been really cool. And another like fun piece was when I went home and told my dad. My dad worked his whole career at Dow, so it was like this really cool like full circle moment for us. Yeah, it was awesome.
Okay. What about you, Anita? What's it been like now? It's a couple of weeks wearing the Dow
Yeah, I got
gear.
it right here. Can you
There
see
you
it?
go. There you go. The Dow logo. What has that support? Because I know that it was one of the things to your point, Lakareber, it was like a full package, right? Financial management support, equipment support, but also financial, right? Being able to to put finance. And I tell people all the time when you talk about equity and inclusion, you got to put your money where your mouth is. And I think that they were very intentional on a well-rounded approach. So what's it been like these couple of weeks of having the support and as you move on with your your dreams of getting your card, LPGA Tour, with Dow on your back?
First of all, like, when I got the same call, it's just the kind of reputation Dow has. Like, I know Dow's a very like inclusive company. Like, all their heads of different departments, there are other either different sexual orientation or women or minorities. Like, it's just a great company. And when the CEO guy called, like, I kind of ruined it because I was like, oh, let me guess, and he was like, you don't need to guess. I was like, but I will guess. So I started guessing the company, and I said Dow. Like, Epson was my first guess, but I was like, well, they already have 10 other girls on the LPGA. So I guessed Dow, and he just didn't say anything. I was like, okay, it is Dow. So I kind of ruined my own surprise. But at the same time, it just shows like the kind of company like Dow is, that, people just see them as like this great company that they want to help. They want to help minorities. They want to help women. They're trying to grow the game of golf in that space. But what has it felt like? It's been great. I mean, the biggest thing obviously is financial support. The fact that you don't have to walk up to the tee and be like, well, I already lost 1,500. I better make this up. You don't have that added pressure on on your back anymore. And so I think that's probably the biggest one. But again, it also comes with management and being a good human being outside golf. Because I think that's a lot of things that professional golfers, we kind of forget to do. We forget to take care of ourselves outside, our sport. And so the fact that they're also offering that kind of help, I think it's great. They're trying to make it a whole, like, like whole-rounded, I don't know what the word is, but being a wholesome person,
the whole person.
well-rounded
Mhm.
person. So they're trying to help you be a well-rounded person, and it just shows like what their goals are, and what the sponsorship even means to us and means to them. And so I'm definitely very grateful. It's my first big sponsor in terms of like financial aid. And so it was great. I was like, I'm a professional now. I got a name on my bag.
Yeah,
But yeah, it was great. It was great. Definitely very grateful.
yeah. When Karen first talked about it, and I was like, oh, I couldn't say anything, and she kept saying, just stay with this. We're gonna work it out. Like they have been great partners, like I said from the beginning, and Cognizant coming to the table with their exemption. We actually have 3 exemption: Meyer, Cognizant, and Dow in terms of our sponsors. On the men's side is 1, and people always laugh like, why? I was like, well, sometimes equity can look a little different. We way behind. So we got 3 to your 1. I think that's all right. So when we think about just a little bit within this space of inclusiveness, these types of programs such as the shipping or Dow being intentional in terms of making sure that their ambassadors are more inclusive, what are some ways that you think that the LPGA Tour can be a little bit more inclusive, or what are some ways that they are trying to move in that direction, or where some, do you ever sit and say, if they did this, what does that look like? And obviously it's changed a lot, but it's still, we still got some ways to go as well. What are some ways for you all that you think that, if you could have a conversation with the commissioner about anything, it's just a private conversation with you and them, what is something that you would say to that can make it a little bit more inclusive? What about you, Lakareber? I know that you've been on the scene for a minute. What are your thoughts about that?
So now Summer's calling me old.
I mean, since y'all try to you've been on the scene. Don't do it. Don't do it because y'all try to clown me. So now I'm coming back. Okay, coming back for you.
I think one thing that I've actually had a conversation with some of my friends is like, there's so many stories, and there's so many people that you actually don't know their backgrounds or where they're from or like who they are. Um, and I think just doing a better job of, whether it's um, Black History Month and highlighting, I mean, like, I know it's not a lot, but there's a lot of Black and African American women who actually have played on tour. I mean, like, what is it? Uh, 8 or 10 that have had their full
Mm-hmm.
cards, I think.
Yep.
I mean, it's not like it's like a ton every year, but I think highlighting those women, and like, you have your Shastas, you have your Sidinas, you have your Cheyennes, you have your Renees, like so many women who are still here and with us, and like to not tell their stories before. I mean, like, I know that a couple of them are still pretty young, but like to make sure you tell their stories before we lose them, I think is really important. I think there's girls out there who you don't know what their families have gone through, you don't know what they have gone through. So I think doing a better job of highlighting women. I think you see that on like women's soccer does a pretty good job of it, and women's
Mm-hmm.
basketball is really doing a really good job of it now. And like you see as they let like different personalities show, and more people kind of come to the forefront, like that sport has grown immensely, I think, in the last like 5-10 years. um so yeah, I think storytelling is probably the easiest and best way, because it helps also your fans um, get to know people, and it humanizes your players a little bit better.
Yeah, that is so important. I think a lot of times when you explain the differences or different journeys, you can appreciate a more interesting fabric right within the space, definitely. And I think that's been one of the things that's been the selling point for women's sports now, that you have more of an uptick of people because they are starting to humanize, and maybe so much so that there's a little bit more ridicule for some than others, right? But it does allow for people to connect in. What about you, Anita? What are your, like, in terms of making a more inclusive space? What would be something you could say as
So
a as a
I've got one thing from me, but to add on to Lakareber's point, like I'm just gonna give you an example of what happened on the LPGA. A friend of mine, Hira, she's Pakistani Australian, and she came second in her second as a rookie, her second event ever on the LPGA. She came second. And I go on the website, on the LPGA Instagram, and I'm like, oh, I'm waiting to see like a post about her or something. Not a single post about her, and she came like solo second. All the other posts were about all the other girls chasing, and I'm like, she was literally chasing also. She came solo second. And I saw somebody post like, oh wow, Hira literally came second, not a single post about her. And I second it. Hopefully LPJ doesn't hate me now. But at the same time, it's that kind of thing where they keep chasing the same stories over and over again. I know they're trying to promote Americans, white Americans, but I know they're trying to promote that. But then at the same time, it's like everyone knows who Nelly Korda is. And even for the PGA, like the Full Swing, I mean, obviously I knew all the names of all these people, but I started watching when I watched Full Swing. I watched Sahith Theegala. I'm pretty sure that's his name. Like for me, like his story connected me. I loved his story. Joey Damon, like all these people that I would never know about. If I didn't watch, I just knew their name, but I would never know their story before I watched Full Swing. And for me, like I'm actually rooting for them. And I think if people saw all these stories, like even minority women, and just try to promote more stories on the LPG, I think people would be invested because now like, oh, I connect with this person, like let me follow her. So I think like obviously to your point, I think it's a great point. I definitely do agree with that. And I don't know if this is the right track, but for me, I only know Epson. I don't really know who the people in leadership are, the LPGA. But on the Epson, I don't think there's a single minority person like rules official or someone in a leadership position that you can talk to. Not as, I mean, please remind me if I'm like wrong or correct me if I'm wrong, but there's not a single minority person in staff that I can think about.
There's 2 on it.
So who are they? They're new?
Yeah. One is his name is Fig. I don't know what he's in charge of. I think it's like partnerships
Okay, what's his
or
like
sponsorship
ethnicity?
or something.
What's his ethnicity, if you don't mind me asking?
I think he's black.
Okay, so before this, like, obviously known about Fig and the other person who I don't know
But
of,
he's like 3 weeks on the job, so don't worry.
Yeah, exactly. 3 weeks on the job, but I've been on the tour for also 3 years. Oh, this is my third year, and there's no, if you're having an issue being a minority person and you want to talk to somebody, or if you just feel more connection with, somebody, you can go talk to somebody in a leadership position, somebody on staff that you can connect better with. And I think that's something that if I were the Epson, because again, I don't know about the LPGA, like I've never really been on the LPGA to know what the staff looks like. But that's something that I would say having more people in leadership positions, that are also, a diverse leadership roles, I think would help to make the sport a little bit more inclusive.
Yeah. I mean, obviously to that point, like the storytelling, the representation, it's also making sure you have, because you can have people of color in roles, but not everybody of color in roles are also understanding how to weave the fabric and to understand that as well. So I always tell people it's not just, the representation, but having the representation that understands how to weave the roles and to tell the stories and to be authentic. And those are definitely, some good ideas within that space. So, we got the shipping coming back this year. I know we're trying to work out schedules and things like that. And so we're excited when we think about just, the tournament and what it means. But one of the things that we just rest our hat on is really elevating, Black girl magic, Black boy joy, as I like to say, in the space for the men. What does Black girl magic, when you hear that, or when we talk about that in the sense of the things that are important about that, how does that play for you? What does that mean for you when you hear that Black girl magic in golf specifically or outside of golf?
Who goes, me? I think for me, I mean, this might be a little bit like, I guess more on the superficial side. But for me, Black girl magic is just be who you are. And I hate to use the wrong word, but I guess swag. I mean, I feel like Black people have more, I don't know, personality to them. The way you talk to them, like, the humor and the way they dress. Like, I just feel more like, you can be yourself. I mean, of course I can be myself around like my other friends. Like, let's not, But there's just the way you connect with another Black person and just how Black people come, like, just again, I guess it's just swag and just, hey, like when people tell me, oh, I like the way you dress, I'm like, I'm Black, man, that's how we do, like you can dance, I'm Black, man, that's how we do, a lot of times it's like, oh, you can dance, you got rhythm, I'm Black, that's like my answer for everything because I'm Black, and so for me it's just having that extra like personality to you and just I mean that's what Black girl magic means to me at least.
Have a
Being
little
yourself.
have a little seasoning, a little Lowry, a little
Yeah,
sprinkle that
exactly.
on
I
there, a
mean,
little.
yeah. So that's what it means to me personally. Again, it might be superficial, but
No, that's legit. Look, Araby, what about you?
Okay, well, unseriously, the first thing I thought of is how Black Girl Magic is like, it doesn't matter who shows up, they all think we're the same person, even though we all look completely different.
it's a good one.
Who did we were at the last tournament. I texted Anita and Mariah because they think I was you? They thought I don't know, they thought I was someone. We
No,
were
they
like,
thought Mariah was you, I think, or they thought
something.
you were Mariah.
It's always something. I get Anita, I get Ginger, I've gotten all of them, except me sometimes, so it doesn't make sense. But yeah, I think to Anita's point, I think Black Girl Magic is just like some of my best memories on tour are just like when we're all together and like the energy is just different. I think the way one we hold ourselves up, but the way also we get to appreciate like our community and like the things happening in it, good or bad. I think um yeah, I just think there's a certain way, especially as Black women, that we carry ourselves, and when you get to enjoy that with a group, um, it's like the best of times.
So even to that point, do you have a memory from the shipping being in this, in an all Black space, outside of women, outside of winning, because you all were both winners? That was a memorable moment that you may think about, that you may, go to. I know that you all have some different camaraderie. Was there, coming down to the wire in competition? Was there any other memories that you have for the shipping when you all were just in a space together, in that safe space together?
We did go to dinner last year. I think like almost all of the older players in the field that could kind of that were like without the high schoolers, unfortunately. But yeah, we all went to dinner. I think that was really cool because we'd never really gotten to spend time around each other outside of the golf course. And so I think, back to like humanizing people, like we see each other as competitors on the course, but just getting to like kind of spend some time with everyone and, hear where they come from, hear their stories, and just kind of relax and get to know someone. I mean, we sat there and like Paige told us about like her van life and traveling and everything and like how she does it. And we, there was like this running joke that like, she's better than us because not a single one of us at the table could live like out of a van or like Anita traveled enough with me to see like my suitcase situation. So like, um, yeah, I think just like getting to know each other outside of golf and build a support system for our success in golf through that is like has been really cool.
Okay. So
Yeah.
as we get ready for the 2024 Epsom season, what is the strategy that you all are doing in terms of practice and in terms of the tournaments themselves? Like, what is your strategy for this season, this year? What about you, Anita?
Well, definitely, I would love to win. My first like professional tournament. That is something that has been on my mind for a while. But again, I know you don't just win a tournament. It's all through a process. And I'm trying to get a better process. In terms of practice, like it's just recently that I just had a practice schedule and being more structured, and that's definitely helped me mentally. So for me, it's more about focusing on my process and just let everything take care of itself. But in terms of goals, like man, I want to win, like and I want to get off the tour. I think that would be like a goal. Another biggest I think like overarching goal would be get off the tour. But I'm still pursuing like I do want to win.
Okay. Look here, what's your strategy, your practice schedule, your strategy coming into this Epsom tour schedule?
Yeah, I think a big thing for me as well has just been like focus on myself and my craft and being prepared, and not really worrying about everything that's going on around me, just like kind of focusing on myself and being a little bit more self preparation, I guess. And then, yeah, just, trying to put myself in more positions to win, hopefully, but also at the same time, just, every day getting to the course, doing what I can, doing my best. And then at the end of the day, that should lead to winning at some point, but not focus on winning. Because I mean, I could go shoot 62, 62, 62, and someone could shoot 62, 62, 61, and I can't tell myself like, oh, that's just really doing what I can to prepare myself every week to compete and have a chance.
Okay. So in closing, we know that, the JOHN Shipping is, like we said, is going to come back in New Jersey in May, and we'll be back in Michigan, playing for the Meyer and the Dow event in Michigan in June. And I know, trying to work out schedules with you all with the Epson tour, all that stuff. But as you think about, the past, how being able to play in those exemption opportunities for the LPGA tour through the Shipping, how has the Shipping event, how has the opportunity, how has it impacted your each of your careers that you can look at and say, was there anything that was pivotal within that the JOHN Shipping event was pivotal in some of your progression professionally?
Yeah. Well, I think for me, one, I think having you, Summer, at the forefront of all of this has been, like, I think, world changing for all of us. I mean, I think you're one of our biggest advocates for sure, but you're also one of our like biggest supporters in the background. I mean, you're always there for a phone call. You always call us to just give us motivation. I mean, you were one of the first people I spoke to after the Dow thing. So I think, just at least for me, to tip my hat at you for how supportive and helpful you've been for like the past few years with this. And then I think the Shipping, when I won, I mean, no matter what you win, where you win, I mean, it's really hard to win. So it's always going to be a nice little confidence boost, I think. But I was also going through just a bit of a rough patch. So to get to win the Shipping and then like get out and compete against some of the best in the world, and to kind of see that my game wasn't too far off, I think was really helpful in getting me to, I think, keep pushing in golf, but also gave me a lot of confidence.
Thank you.
Yeah, I definitely do agree with Lack in terms of like Summer. Even the Dow sponsorship that we have now, I don't know if we would get that sponsorship without JOHN Shipping, without you being part of JOHN Shipping, without you, creating JOHN Shipping and having, I mean, without the JOHN Shipping, Dow would never, say, oh, like, we want to give a sponsorship, because there would be no, JOHN Shipping. And so definitely it all circles back to thank you so much, because everything that financial things that, have come to me also trickles back to like you helping. And so from Lack and I, thank you very much. We really appreciate it. I mean, thinking about it, and like Lack said, in terms of, winning the JOHN Shipping, again, I had Shasta, but the opportunity to play at the Dow, and to finally see with my own eyes, compete with people who, I look up to in terms of like, oh, I watched that on TV and I want to be there. So for me to be in that position and to compete and see that, hey, like, I belong here, I can compete, I think that was definitely a confidence booster. And, like, it basically like a motivation, like pushing me like, hey, I can do this. So yeah, JOHN Shipping is definitely pivotal in, my growth as a person, as a golfer. So.
Well, I appreciate the compliment. It's definitely been an amazing journey with you all. I'm so proud. I know that this is not easy. I tell people that all the time, this is not easy. And so even when, Jason Langwell and I first talked about this event along, a few years ago with Intersport, and my company was like, oh, this could be something. And this is what we wanted it, to keep growing. And this year, we'll have a purse for the women and the men. So we're excited about that, which that's been a part of the goal. So just continuing to build each year has been our goal. So as I tell you all the time, I appreciate you trusting me from the first conference call, Lakareber, that you were on, and Anita, and continuing to be amazing that you all are, and y'all do show up in your Black girl magic all the time, unapologetically, and it just makes me so proud to see y'all out here still going at your dreams, still making it happen. And there's no doubt in my mind, as I tell you all the time, y'all are purely so much talent that is no doubt that you all are going to continue to do your thing. And we support y'all 110%. So thank y'all for your time. We know you got to go back to practice. We know you got to get ready and go and swing at them out there down under Lakareber. So thank y'all so much for y'all time today.
Thank you, Sommer.
Thank you.
We 1000% appreciate you.
Oh, we love y'all.
I think Lak's going to bed, right, Lak?
No, it's the morning. I'm kind of hungry, so.
Well. But play great today, okay, Lak?
Thanks. I'll see you soon.
All right,
I'll see y'all.
Let's play. And say hi to your mom.
Okay? I will.
Here. She's
Sommer? All right, good.
All right, y'all say hello to your moms as well.
Yes.
Will do.
Okay.
All right, bye.
Bye.